The Linda Family Tennis Center in Mason, Ohio, had witnessed greatness before. Roger Federer, Rafael Nadal, Serena Williams. Tournament owner Ben Navarro had seen them all pack the stands, had presided over the $260 million transformation of this facility into one of tennis's most spectacular venues. He thought he had seen it all. But on this warm August evening, as the sun began to dip below the horizon and the stadium lights blazed to life, something entirely unprecedented was unfolding. 11,614 seats, completely sold out. The center court was a sea of red, white, blue, and yellow. Thousands of Philippine flags waving in unison, creating a spectacle that had never been seen before in the tournament's 125-year history. The chants of Laban, Alex, echoed through the stadium like rolling thunder. The atmosphere was not that of a tennis match. It was a rock concert, a festival, a celebration of national pride. And at the center of it all stood a 21-year-old from Quezon City who had already defied every expectation. Alexandra Eala had arrived in Cincinnati as the number 17 seed, her highest seeding ever in a WTA 1000 event. She had already made history in Washington, becoming the first Filipino, indeed the first Southeast Asian, to win a WTA Tour singles title. She had reached the fourth round at Wimbledon, stunning defending champion Iga Swiatek on center court. She had climbed to a career-high world number 18. She had won 8 of her past 9 matches and improved to 8-1 during the North American hardcourt swing. But standing across the net was her toughest test yet. Amanda Anisimova, world number 10, 9th seed, 2-time Grand Slam finalist, former world number 3, and owner of 2 WTA 1000 titles. The American was a heavy hitter, a decorated champion, and a player who had beaten some of the best in the world. She was also unfazed by Eala's massive crowd support. "I haven't played her before," Anisimova said before the match. "She's been having such an incredible season, an incredible year. A very great player with a lot of fans, so I'm really looking forward to that." It was the first meeting between the two players. Neither knew what the other felt like from the opposite baseline, and Anisimova had never gone beyond the third round in Cincinnati, meaning both women were trying to break new ground on the same court. The stakes could not have been higher. The winner would advance to the round of 16, where Wimbledon champion Linda Noskova waited. And when the final point was played, tennis history was about to be written. Welcome to the story of a champion's arrival, a crowd's devotion, and the drama that unfolded when two of the sport's brightest stars collided in Cincinnati. The Linda Family Tennis Center had been transformed. Ben Navarro's $260 million expansion had doubled the size of the facility, adding new stadiums, new courts, and new capacity. The tournament was expected to draw over 300,000 attendees over its 2-week run. But nothing, absolutely nothing, could have prepared anyone for what was about to happen. Hours before the match was scheduled to begin, the stadium was already filling up. Filipino fans had traveled from across the United States, from California, from Texas, from New York, from Florida, all to watch a 21-year-old from Quezon City play tennis. One group of friends had planned their entire college reunion around a trip to Cincinnati specifically to watch Eala play. Another supporter had followed Eala in Toronto and then driven 8 hours to Cincinnati for another chance to see her. The ticket demand had been unprecedented. In Washington, organizers had revealed that 80% of ticket inquiries asked about Eala's match schedule. In Toronto, every match she played sold out in advance. Now, in Cincinnati, the 11,614-seat center court was completely sold out. The grandstand was sold out. Every single ticket for every session featuring Eala had been purchased. Even the tournament owner was left speechless. "We've never seen anything like this," Ben Navarro had declared. "Not for Federer, not for Nadal, not for Serena. This is different. This is something else entirely." Eala's path to this showdown had been nothing short of remarkable. She had arrived in Cincinnati on the back of a historic North American hardcourt swing. 2 weeks earlier, she had captured her first WTA Tour singles title at the WTA Open in Washington. Her path to the trophy had been a gauntlet of champions. Olympic gold medalist Zheng Qinwen, defending champion Leylah Fernandez, world number 10 Alina Svitolina, four-time Grand Slam champion Naomi Osaka, and world number 3 Jessica Pegula. Then came Toronto. Eala had extended her winning streak to 7 matches before falling to Belinda Bencic in the 4th round. The defeat had snapped her momentum, but it had also taught her valuable lessons. "I'm counting my blessings," she had said after the loss. "I'm taking the lessons that I've had from these 2 weeks and hopefully implementing them even more in a better way in Cincinnati and New York." Now, in Cincinnati, she was putting those lessons into practice. Her second-round match against Elena Gabriela Ruse had been a statement of intent. Eala dropped her opening service game, then simply took over. She reeled off 9 straight games. The match was suspended due to lightning at 6-1, 3-0, and Ruse ultimately retired due to a right foot injury. "I think that I was playing well. I think I felt the ball good, was really focused, and tried to keep myself in the zone," Eala told the media. Of course, nobody likes to finish a match with a retirement. First and foremost, I just want to wish Gabriela Ruse a speedy recovery. Injuries aren't fun, so I hope she recovers soon. The victory extended her remarkable run. She had won 8 of her past 9 matches. She had improved to 8-1 during the North American hardcourt swing, and she had advanced to a first-time meeting with world number 10 Amanda Anisimova. Eala's record against top 10 players was already impressive. She had beaten 7 top 10 players before arriving in Cincinnati. Her list of victims included Iga Swiatek at Wimbledon and Jessica Pegula in the Washington final. Now, she was aiming to add an 8th. The stage was set. The crowd was ready. And tennis history was about to be written. Amanda Anisimova was a player who commanded respect. At 24 years old, she had already achieved more than most players dream of in a lifetime. The American was a 4-time WTA titleist, highlighted by a pair of Masters victories in Qatar and China the previous season. She had finished runner-up in both the US Open and Wimbledon the year before. She had reached the quarterfinal of the Australian Open earlier in the season and, in 2019, had become the youngest French Open semifinalist at just 17 years old. At her peak, she had climbed to world number 3. Her 2026 season had been anything but smooth. A quarterfinal at the Australian Open was followed by a semifinal in Dubai, 4th rounds at Indian Wells and Miami, an injury that wiped out most of the clay swing, and a 3rd-round exit at the French Open. Her season record stood at 17-10, with 12-7 of that on hard courts. Her last outing before Cincinnati was a straight sets loss to Alina Svitolina in Toronto. But Anisimova had arrived in Cincinnati with something to prove. She had cruised past Zeynep Sonmez in straight sets, 6-2, 6-3. She had looked sharp, focused, and ready for the challenge ahead. "I haven't played her before," Anisimova said of Eala. "She's been having such an incredible season, an incredible year. A very great player with a lot of fans. So I'm really looking forward to that the American was also fully aware of the atmosphere she would be walking into." Eala's matches had become cultural phenomena, with thousands of Filipino fans packing stadiums wherever she played. Anisimova, however, was not intimidated. "I know that it's probably going to be a very packed stadium," she said. "I'm sure it'll be really fun." She was asked about the prospect of playing in a stadium where most of the crowd would be cheering for her opponent. Her response revealed the mindset of a champion. "I love a packed stadium and I love a good atmosphere," Anisimova said. "I'm sure it will be a great match, even though they will probably going to be rooting more for her end. But I don't mind it, and I'll try to thrive off of the energy." The contrast was stark. Anisimova was playing on American soil. Cincinnati is her home turf, just a short drive from her training base in Florida. But the crowd had already decided. This was Eala territory, and Anisimova knew it. There was one more number Eala would have liked. Anisimova had never gone beyond the 3rd round in Cincinnati. That meant both women were trying to break new ground on the same court. Neither knew what the other felt like from the opposite baseline. The stage was set for a blockbuster. The crowd was ready, and tennis history was about to be written. To understand why this match was so significant, you have to understand the phenomenon that Alex Eala had become. It was not just that she was a good tennis player. It was something far bigger, far more profound. Eala had become a symbol. She had become a source of pride for a nation of over 110 million people. She had become a gathering point for the Filipino diaspora, a way for people scattered across the globe to connect with their heritage, to celebrate their identity, to feel united in a shared purpose. Naomi Osaka, the four-time Grand Slam champion, had once described Eala's matches as more like a basketball game than a tennis match. And she was right. This was not the hushed, polite applause that had traditionally defined sport. This was a celebration, a festival, a homecoming. In Washington, Eala's matches had drawn 80% of all ticket inquiries. In Toronto, every match she played sold out in advance. In Cincinnati, the demand was so intense that tournament officials were still scrambling to accommodate the thousands of fans who wanted to see her play. The phenomenon had even caught the attention of the sport's biggest stars. Coco Gauff had praised Eala for bringing a new demographic to the WTA Tour. Former doubles world number one Rennie Stubbs had predicted that Eala would bring so many young kids to the sport of tennis. And now, Anisimova was about to experience it firsthand. She has a great fan base, Anisimova acknowledged. And it looks like an incredible atmosphere every time she steps out to play a match. But it wasn't just the fans that made Eala special. It was her mentality, her refusal to accept defeat, her ability to stay in the match, no matter the score. Earlier in the week, Leylah Fernandez, who had fallen to Eala in a dramatic comeback in Washington, had revealed what made the Filipina so difficult to beat. She's a tough player, Fernandez had said. She's playing with a lot of confidence. She's always in the match, whether she's down or whether she's up. That fighting spirit had been on full display throughout Eala's North American swing. In Washington, she had come back from a set down to beat Jessica Pegula in the final. In Toronto, she had extended her winning streak to 7 matches. And now, in Cincinnati, she was preparing to face the biggest test of her career. Eala, for her part, sounded like a player growing into the noise around her. My days have gotten a little more packed with the commitments, she said of recent weeks, calling it a good sign that's helping her become more established on tour. She had also spoken about the support that had carried her through the summer. It's an amazing experience, Eala said of the Filipino fans. It's nice to see that the Filipino community is really showing up and enjoying tennis. Hopefully, it will help grow the sport as well and, in the end, give them something new and joyful experience. The challenge for Anisimova was clear. She would have to win not just against Eala, but against the thousands of voices that would be cheering against her. I know that it's probably going to be a very packed stadium, Anisimova said. I'm sure it'll be really fun. The lights dimmed. The announcer's voice boomed across the stadium. Please welcome, from the Philippines, Alexandra Eala. The crowd erupted. The flags waved. The chants of Laban, Alex, echoed through the stadium like thunder. Eala walked onto the court with the confidence of a champion. She had been here before. She knew what it meant to carry the hopes of a nation on her shoulders. She had done it in Washington, in Toronto, at Wimbledon. She would do it again in Cincinnati. Anisimova followed, her expression focused, her determination written on her face. The American was a 2-time Grand Slam finalist. She had played in some of the biggest matches in the sport, but even she had never experienced an atmosphere quite like this. The contrast between the two players was stark. Anisimova was the heavier hitter, the more decorated player, the one with 2 WTA 1000 titles and a Grand Slam final on her resume. Eala was the rising star, the crowd favorite, the player who had already beaten 7 top 10 players this season. She's been having such an incredible season, an incredible year, Anisimova had said before the match. A very great player with a lot of fans. From the very first point, it was clear that this was a battle. Anisimova attempted to impose her pace and shorten points. Eala absorbed that power, changed direction, and tested the American's movement. The tactical contrast was fascinating. Eala's left-handed forehand was devastating. Her ability to redirect Anisimova's power left the American off balance. Every point was a war. Every game was a statement. The crowd roared with every Eala winner. The Philippine flags waved with every changeover. The chants grew louder with every passing moment. Eala had already proven she could beat the best. She had beaten Iga Swiatek at Wimbledon. She had beaten Jessica Pegula in the Washington final. She had beaten Zheng Qinwen, Leylah Fernandez, Alina Svitolina, and Naomi Osaka. Now, she was trying to add Anisimova to that list. The American, for her part, was determined to prove that she still belonged among the elite. She had been to the mountaintop, twice a Grand Slam finalist, once the youngest French Open semi-finalist in history. She knew what it took to win at the highest level. As the match wore on, the tension in the stadium was palpable. Every point was met with a roar from one side or the other. The flags never stopped waving. The chants never stopped echoing. And when the final point was played, the stadium exploded. Eala had done it. She had beaten another top 10 player. She had advanced to the round of 16. She had added another scalp to her growing list of victims. This was Eala's 8th top 10 victory of the season. Her record against the world's best now stood at an impressive 8-4. She had improved to 9-1 during the North American hardcourt swing. She had won 9 of her past 10 matches. The crowd went absolutely mad. Eala's victory over Anisimova was more than just a win. It was a milestone in a journey that had captured the imagination of the tennis world. From the cracked courts of Quezon City, where tennis was a luxury, to the center courts of Cincinnati, where she had stunned the world no. 10. Alexandra Eala had proven that champions can come from anywhere. Her path to this moment had been paved with hard work, determination, and an unwavering belief in herself. She had trained at the Rafa Nadal Academy since she was 13 years old. She had climbed the rankings slowly but surely. She had beaten the best players in the world, and she had done it all while carrying the weight of a nation on her shoulders. The victory over Anisimova had set up a round of 16 clash against Wimbledon champion Linda Noskova. Noskova had beaten Eala twice in 2026, 6-2, 6-0 at Indian Wells, and 6-2, 6-4 in the Berlin Open semifinals. A victory over Noskova would be Eala's 9th top 10 win of the season and would send her into her first WTA 1000 quarterfinal. But regardless of what happened next, Eala had already achieved something remarkable. She had beaten another top 10 player. She had advanced to the round of 16 of a WTA 1000 event. She had continued her extraordinary North American hardcourt swing, and she had inspired a generation of Filipinos to dream big. Tennis history has changed, one commentator noted. Alex Eala is no longer just a rising star. She is a legitimate threat to the best players in the world. And she's just getting started. Eala herself remained humble. "I think I played really well," she said after the match. "I think I held my level the whole match, so I'm really happy." She had also spoken about the support that had carried her through the summer. "It's an amazing experience," Eala said. "It's nice to see that the Filipino community is really showing up and enjoying tennis. Hopefully, it will help grow the sport as well, and, in the end, give them something new and joyful experience." Anisimova, for her part, had been gracious in defeat. She had acknowledged the incredible atmosphere that Eala brought to every match. "She has a great fan base," the American had said before the match. "And it looks like an incredible atmosphere every time she steps out to play a match." From the cracked courts of Quezon City, where tennis was a luxury, to the center courts of Cincinnati, where she had stunned the world number 10, Alexandra Eala had proven that champions can come from anywhere. From the cracked courts of Quezon City to the center courts of Cincinnati, where she stunned the world number 10 and changed tennis history forever, Alexandra Eala proved that champions don't just win matches, they move mountains. Amanda Anisimova had never lost in the third round of Cincinnati before. She had never faced a crowd like this. She had never faced a player like Alex Eala. And when the final point was played, tennis history had changed forever. The Filipina sensation had done it again, and she was just getting started.